Okay. Here I am. Let's see this. Here I am. Here I am at the very. This isn't them anymore, but here I am at the very, the first medical examination. At the age of 47, my first medical examination in my adult lifetime. The first health care I received deliberately and voluntarily, and for nothing else than my other concern than actually my health. I was in this location. I got to zoom in the camera a little bit because there we go. 2016 when the first time I ever got health insurance, because I decided, well, let's go ahead and I'm going to hold off on I decided to hold off on my crusade. I think I decided to hold off on my crusade against Obamacare when whatever it was at the time, which really wasn't much. It was just more like just going into just making myself angry on radical libertarian podcasts. That's the way it was. But I decided after Dawn, first of all, there was Dawn's the 2015 when her well, I should put the selfie stick if I'm going to do this. That's what I need to do. Hold on a minute. Okay, well, all right. Well, I'll get the at least I can get the this thing ready. Now that I want to get the back my selfie stick out of my backpack. I'll use it as a selfie if I want to. Well, I'm just coming here to the first place where I volunteer. Well, here's this. Let me go back to the story where we're talking about I think this is the way to do it. All right. Okay. Let me get this out. I'll make sure this. Okay. Why is it? Have I gotten so tight that I can even twist it? Okay. There. Yes, I did get so tight that I can twist it, which is good because I needed to get it to work. Okay. Now all I gotta do is just kind of camera this. There. I think that's a pretty good. Okay. This is the place where I first get. Well, what happened in the summer of 2015? 3 years ago, Dawn and I, about 3 years ago this week, I think it is. Dawn and I were hanging around at her place at her parents' place up at and that was the 3 years. That was the 13 years after that was the 13 years after. I should get. There are people around here. I should probably think. That was the 13 years right after my drinking when I gave up alcohol. So that's when I fell off that wagon. I fell off the wagon, I fell off the wagon of my drunken charge against for I guess for my I get more or less equivalent to a drunken charge against what I deemed authoritarian overprotective politics by getting on listening to radical libertarian podcasts and making myself angry, and eating also just nothing but carbohydrates essentially. It seemed almost nothing but carbohydrates and overcooked meat. When I did eat meat, it was grossly overcooked. I mean, really grossly. I mean, in every way you can think of. But that was 2015. So 13 years. 13 years after my breakdown. After I came back, 13 years after it was that. But Dawn crossed with that one. Dawn crossed hers with mine. That must have been her breakup with must have been when things started going down with her and Lisa. It must have been happening out. That's what back then. Well, no, hers was 13, but that's 13 for me. 13s don't necessarily work on everything just for her. The 13 years, I gotta be careful because there are people, I don't want to get them, excuse me. I gotta be careful because I don't want people to be caught in I'm just checking the videos to make sure it's all, okay, we're good, okay. Well, let's see, that was the summer of 2015 when I was starting to realize that it's about time for me to go. I might actually need to start caring about whether I live. My crusade. First, I went to Washington D.C. Oh yeah, I heard the I watched. Oh, what was that? Right before we went to DC, there was a 99% Invisible podcast I listened to. It was on the this strange way this street was designed in Baltimore, Maryland. There was where like one side was supposed to be with the poor black section, and the other side was the richer white section, and they had a like strange twists in the road in street in order to make it so and they had these things so you get confused as what direction are going on, and they had the crossings were like almost like far apart, like half a mile apart from each other, like there's one and a half a mile stretch, so it just made it difficult. They wanted to make it difficult to cross this street in Baltimore. It seems like the street was designed, it was called, I think it was called Glenmount Avenue. It cuts Baltimore, like I guess you can almost call it the high, well, not the high street of Baltimore, maybe like that, I don't know, maybe that, I'm not sure, something like that. But anyway, the sides of the street were separated like that in a way that, I mean, it seemed they were talking about how it seemed to be designed, and they'd have these things called bollards. Actually, they were talking about these things called bollards on this 99% Invisible podcast in Baltimore, Maryland. And they kind of look like fire hydrants, except they're like there's solid posts. The things that you don't, well, excuse me, block, oops. Hey there, morning. But anyway, when we got to DC in 2012, like later on that month, I mean, like a month or so later after watching that one podcast, I saw that DC had all these bollards. It's a solid post of concrete in the ground. It's like, so if you were try to drive a vehicle up on top of a curb, it's to prevent these things. I guess those things in front of Target, those rock hard balls. I remember I used to say Target has rock hard balls. Those big red concrete balls in front of Target. I said that was those are probably considered bollards. Those could be considered effectively. I think they are bollards. I'm sure they're concreted down on it. I mean, they're down there pretty solid. It's not just rolling on the top of it. Like they don't want those things to break around and roll off. Like Target's got but they have rock hard balls. Target has rock hard balls. I got to make sure I don't get anybody. Which way am I? I think I want to go south. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to go south. This is where I want to go. I mean, let me get up on the sidewalk so I know where I'm going. Okay, there we go. Well, I was talking about 2015 when. So we spent the summer of 2015 up at Hoover at Recovery in the spiritual retreat. Dawn and I, and we listened to some of the crazy podcasts I started listening to. It was what's his name, Flossie Carter. I mean, maybe I'll start talking. I haven't seen Flossie Carter put any more videos in a long time, but this one, he was this guy. He was like the hip reviewer of electronic, mobile device. Mobile devices. They're packaging the cases and just everything you use, just peripherals, and just fun things to do with phone and mobile devices. He was reviewing them, and that's what he did. But it's like really, let's just call it let's say like, well, if the hip inner city. He lived in, I think he lived in Jamaica, Queens, and he was doing he was doing a breathalyzer thing for your phone, a breathalyzer device and app for your phone. And he was getting drunk while he was doing it. Dawn and I were up there at the Dunlap's spiritual retreat on Hoover Dam, and we were watching Flossie Carter, the review of this breathalyzer. And we were laughing our asses off of this thing. We were watching this, and he just kept going. He was going and looked at because his videos were usually like 10 minutes long. How long is this going to go? It's like, we're looking into it. It's like 44 minutes into it. I mean, he really let it go. We were just laughing our asses off. And then we were doing videos where they showed people driving around just driving around cities. We had this one where this one video, cool woman had videos where she's driving around Greenland. What's her name? Dagmar. I'll have to look up that name again because she has this awesome video. She lived in Newark, Greenland, and the idea that I'd ever see somebody who's driving around Greenland into the point where I actually get familiar with it is just amazing. What YouTube can do. That was 2005. I think I'm going the right. Yes, I'm going. The numbers are in the 700s, so I'm getting closer. I'm going south because I think that's the way it starts at 161. I think it starts at Dublin Granville Road, aka 161. The interesting thing about Dublin Granville Road and 161 is that well, I mean, Dublin Granville Road is what they usually just call 161. But it's crossed by High Street, which they call 23. Now, 161 divided by 23 is 7. So 7 is what you get when you cross, when you divide. So this intersection would be 7 because it is State Route 161, the State 161 divided by US 23. Okay, you get 7. You get 7 state overfed somehow. I'm not sure exactly how that works, but that's interesting because the intersection it's State Route 161, yet US 23. Oops, I got some people. I'm going to have to go to another intersection. Okay. There we go. Okay, that's better. I've got to make sure that I don't get up on. See, this is the one with Dawn and I had problems with until we saw. We didn't think we were walking back here one time at one of the farmers markets. I think it wasn't. Now I did come to one of these because I didn't go right away over to Dawn's place after her leg broke. I kept on saying her ankle because my ankle broke. For some reason it was her. I kept on saying her ankle, but it was her leg, not her ankle. For some reason I always said that. Well, anyway, we went. I was starting to try to eat better, but it wasn't working. I was taking off because I thought it was my heart. I didn't know what it was. I had that panic attack. I thought I was actually diabetes even or something like that. I had no idea. I just never had a checkup. So it was a year later when I finally broke down and got it. I was panicking about that medical bill. I had no idea that emergency room bill, thinking I was just going to be broke for the rest of my life because of that. And I was just barely, I handled it easily. Like I was so relieved when I realized how little it was. I was looking up websites. How much is an emergency room visit normally? How much does it cost? How much does it cost? I was panicking. And I was making it worse. And I just realized when I got the bill, I was like, oh, I pay this right now. Okay. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot to just pay like that. But you know, it's like I was just relieved it wasn't. I heard about these bills. I thought like I was going to resist this. I was going to keep on resisting getting health insurance, but then I was going to but then I was realizing, wait a minute, I want to live now. You know, I had to switch around, so it was coming around. So the next year I started getting health again. It was because I was just trying to fight it's just like every time I tried to head a crusade against a law, Dawn kind of ended up flipping me around about it. It was the smoking ban at first in 2005. I quit smoking. And this was the one that gave me, what's the result of Obama? I started caring about Obamacare or the protesting that or whatever. That they start caring about my health by the end of the year. So Dawn, I gave her my smoking habit. She gave me the care about myself. Okay. I mean, kind of think of it. I started getting healthy. Everything I did in my life was healthy because of her. But they were just things that, but I gave her my smoking habit. But she was starting to get she was actually got that weight. She was that dumbbell or that she was going to start wearing that lifting a 3-pound dumbbell, and she didn't get the 2 She picked the 2-pound and said that's not enough. She was going to start lifting a weight. I just see when I realized that the idea that she was as much of pain in her body as I was giving her enough excitement to make her want to start lifting weights. The Ruth's weight was like comparative in body size. But like a, well, anyway, and her arm was not nowhere near as strong as my arm proportionally either. Except she has strong legs because of how she had to move around in her chair, but she didn't have really strong arms. She didn't have strong arms at all. She had tiny arms. But she had that one little spirit. That was guided all by spirit. She was just driving on that wheelchair, just moving by her instinct. She wasn't thinking about. She wasn't giving any force or pressure into it or anything at all. She was just going with the flow.
At 9, we got off.
And and I was always walking. My walks were pounding into the ground because I was angry. But whatever happened, I was just because I didn't have any faith. I was always angry until Dawn was able to bring it to me. I got to be careful about it. That's why I came inside. So because I couldn't do this in the along High Street. I'm getting down towards Worthington, where I might have to go back to High Street anyway. So I might just have to say goodbye to this video. I'll make more later.